Hello, everyone out there in podcast world. Hope you're having a wonderful day. You are listening to or watching the Service Business Mastery Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Tersh Blissett. Joshua Crouch is my co-host, but he is not with us today. He unfortunately is under the weather, so he will be missed on today's episode. And it's funny, just so happened, not funny really, but our today's guest is actually lives in the same town as Josh, but Josh is sick, so. Won't be here with us. Cameron Bawden is our guest today, and I'm excited to talk to Cameron because he's serial entrepreneur like myself, but he's on a large level, and I love the way that he does it because I've thought about this and I love the concept and the idea. So I'm definitely going to be picking his brain. He has multiple different businesses and different trades industries, and so we're going to talk all about why he got started doing what he's doing in the trades, and I'm going to talk a little bit about maybe some things that he wouldn't do it again or would do differently again if he had to do it over again. If you are on Instagram, go follow Cameron. It's Bawden. That's his last name. That's his handle on Instagram. I wanted to make sure I mentioned that. But with that being said, if you have never listened to or watched an episode of Service Business Mastery Podcast, it is a podcast focused on service business, home service business owners, managers, and technicians who may be considering starting their own business. And our target and your goal with this podcast is to help answer some unasked questions that you may have about the business side of skilled trades. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with today's episode.
Are you looking for valuable business advice to reach that 7-figure revenue mark? Do you want actionable tips to properly navigate through every business challenge you encounter along the way? Let Tersh Blissett and Josh Crouch be your guide in getting you to the top here at Service Business Mastery. Tune in as they sit down with world-renowned authors in business, leadership, and personal growth who share valuable insights about management, marketing, pricing, human resources, and so much more. Let their nuggets of wisdom gold guide you in owning a thriving, profitable, and ever-growing business. Here are your hosts, Tersh and Josh.
Hey, Cameron, welcome to the show.
I love the hat with the suit, man. It's fresh.
I appreciate it, man. It's crazy because now I go to a trade show and like this is what I got to wear. I'm actually dressed down today. I normally am full 3-piece suit, but
what the heck, man? What's up with that?
I don't know. I just I was feeling like a t-shirt and a blazer kind of day.
Looking good, man. Looking good.
So tell me a little bit about yourself, and for the audience that maybe have never heard of you, haven't followed you, what makes you a big deal? Because you are a big deal. So
man, I don't know about that, but dude, what's funny is I was, I grew up in Arizona, born and raised, and grew up playing sports, but I was the type of kid that just hated school. But looking back, I was extremely street smart. My life coach, who I started coaching with, gosh, it's been 5 years now. He knew me as a little kid, and he said, "You're either going to be in jail or you're going to be a multimillionaire." I don't know what it is. He told me this when I was 5 years old. Wow. And that's the type of kid that I had. I have a buddy who's a surgeon now. Literally, went through. Felt like it was 15 years of school, and he's the guy that I cheated off of, man. So I knew I picked the right guy, but that was my life. I'm just street smart. I'm a visual learner. I know once I see something one time, I know how to do it and implement it. And I'm a systems and processes guy. And because of that, I put great people around me to make up for where I'm weak. And that's how I've had success.
Now, did somebody tell you to do that, or was it like a natural? Like you knew this was like, I know this is my downside, so you're good at it. Come in and join me.
No, I just knew like if I wanted to go here, I had to get all these different pieces, and I knew what pieces I was missing. And so I'd go find people that had those pieces. And like I said, I didn't have when I first started with a business partner, luckily, without us really knowing it, he was great at marketing and branding, and I was great at systems and operations. And we saw how we would come together and make, a complete puzzle to at least start a company. And then when we finally got smart enough to hire out the managers and the office people and the accountants and everyone else, that's when it really clicked. Wow, this is a big deal. You need to know and recognize where you're weak and fill those gaps.
How long, time frame was that time period?
I always laugh. Like I said, we've started 5 other companies since Green Mango, and so I've gotten a lot better. But the first 6 years of Green Mango, my business partner and I were literally everything. We wore all the hats, and it was the biggest. It was the best thing because we got to learn every sector of the business perfectly, so that when we did hire, and someone would tell us it's not possible or you just don't understand, it's like, dude, I get it,
Mm-hmm.
But I wish I would have hired quicker. So we were on the truck spraying routes 6 years into Green Mango.
So for the people who don't know what is Green Mango, what you had 6 businesses, what are they?
What are all 6? So
Sure.
Green Mango's a pest control company. So literally in 2010 started with 1 truck, and now we're, I like to say the top 3 because, there's no stats out there that are like, yeah, you are the biggest, but we buy more. Our chemical distributors are like, you guys are buying more product than anyone else. You guys have more trucks on the road and you have more licenses. But, anyway, so we started with 1 truck in 2010. Now we're, maybe one of the biggest in Arizona, which there's over 10,000 licenses in Arizona. So, wow. I mean, it's huge. I mean, it's a very highly competitive market. So, like I said, I just pinch myself every single day. I don't come off as, boastful about it. I'm just proud. And I wouldn't have been able to do it without my team that I have and without my business partner. So the other companies, we focused on home services. People saw Green Mango. They knew what we were about. We're all about premium. We're all about, giving that customer the best experience, showing up in a nice flat black truck with 22-inch rims on it. The technician's decked out in Nike gear. He's got a clean hat on, fresh shoes. And, it's different. The way that he communicates with the customer, he's not trying to get in and out. It's just like, hey, would you like the interior done today? Do you mind opening up the garage? We want to make sure we get in there. A lot of guys are trying to skip the inside. They're not trying to do the garage. And so people were noticing what we were doing. And, I tell the story, it took 6 years to get off the truck, literally off the truck, and start hiring people. And we went from working 16, 18-hour days to basically we hired ourselves out of a job. Because once I started hiring managers and technicians, it's like, what am I going to do all day? I was working an 8-hour day, and it felt like I was the laziest guy in the whole world. And that's where it was like, okay, let's start some other companies. And looking back, it probably wasn't the smartest idea, but it was the greatest, plan of action for us for my entrepreneur education, because I didn't go to college. And that's the thing, a lot of people think, oh, if you don't go to college, you can just start a company. You're going to have to get your education somewhere.
Right.
For me, I had to pay the price of going through a lot of hard lessons through my entrepreneur journey to do that. So we started over 5 companies in an 18-month span, all in the home service industry. So I was back to working 18 hours a day again.
So how did you stay motivated once you got to the point where things were running smoothly?
Well, I'm even doing it, obviously it's New Year's, and I'm sitting here and it's like, dude, how do I get excited about this year?
Yeah, exactly.
And the way that I get excited is I have my CFO sits down and he's got all his spreadsheets and all these different things. And it's like, okay, what do you think we're going to do this year? How much, what do you think I can increase my draw to? And he'll tell me a number. Then it's like, okay, well, what do I need to do to add another couple $100,000 or whatever that might be? And that's how I get excited. So every single year it's like, okay, what do we think we're going to do? And then I bump it up just a little bit. And it's like, I shoot for that. And I don't know, it keeps me working even through some really hard times. And last year, dude, it was difficult. I mentioned my partner buyout, that was really long. Some of our other companies, ran into some issues with accounts receivable, and it put me on the back burner of a lot of things, but I still kept coming to work because I'm excited about that number that I put forth at the beginning of the year that I wanted to hit.
So the struggle that I run into is the fact that I had reached a point where I've gotten the things that I want. Do you know what I mean? So whenever I say, okay, I want to increase by another 100,000 in owner draw, Yeah, I'm like, why do it? Like, I guess I spend so much time in the business and on the business and all of that I don't spend the money enjoying things like I should probably,
Okay.
and um, never have thought about the idea of a mountain house and stuff like that. And so there's not that additional drive to generate more money
Yeah.
because you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. And that's been the hardest thing for me is it's not more money so that I'm happier. It's more money because it's more money. It's the next goal for me.
Okay.
And while staying at a balanced life, like we were talking about before we started, you got 4 kids, I have 2 kids. They're at critical ages. My kids are at 11 or 10 and 7. And it's like, dude, I want to spend time with them, but I also want I've been off for 2 weeks. Like I'm so
Ready to get
excited
back.
to get back into the office
Mhm.
today and start working because I truly love it. But I go and work out in the morning. I don't get into the office till 10:30 now. And I'm answering text messages and that before, but like I'm with my kids in the morning before they go to school. I go to the gym and I come in and then I'm home at 5 o'clock. Like I have that balance will, but I'm checking all the boxes on my balance will to try and be as connected as I can.
How did you educate yourself? I know you said making mistakes and learning from the mistakes, but um, was did like you mentioned you have a mentor? How late did that come in, or how early did that come in? And did you have any other coaches and um, or buy books on tape or listen to those podcasts and stuff on the like? How did you educate yourself?
Yeah, so I haven't been. That's one of my New Year's resolutions. I started three months ago. Is like just reading 15 minutes a day because that's difficult for me. I get sidetracked really easily. But I was like, hey, if I can like lock in for 15 minutes a day, like you can almost finish a full book in a month, which is huge for me because that hasn't been what I've been doing. So, but my education has just been through trial and errors with running the company. I didn't hire my coach until I was 8 years into my first company, which it takes a lot of money to hire a good coach,
Yeah.
but it's something that I wish I probably would have done. I mean, I really couldn't afford it any faster than I did. But 8 years in is when I pulled the trigger on that, and it literally changed my life. Like it, it was the best thing I ever did.
That's awesome. Now was that a trades like a specific person coach for pest control or
No, actually, I had nothing to do with pest control. So I called my dad one night, and this is when I was making a couple $100,000 a year, and I felt like, oh, I made it, and the stress was kind of off of me and whatever. But I called him. I said, Dad, something's still missing. Like I don't know what it is. And he's like, you need a coach with. He's like, do you remember Mark Fournier? He knew you as a kid. I told you he knew me when I was 5 years old. He's been my dad's buddy forever. He's like, you remember Mark? I was like, Mark. He's like that guy that we used to go over to his house in Scottsdale. And, he tried to, make me remember him. And I was like, yeah, Mark. The next day I was at lunch with Mark and he's talking about ego and he's talking about how to have a balanced life. And he's talking about the human psychology of, he talks about the bright train and the dark train. And he goes into so many different things and it had nothing to do with pest control. And that was what was so great about it because in all the fields that we're in, whether it's, solar, alarms, pest control, carpet cleaning, like I'm not a pest control technician. Like I run a business. And so the business is people. So my education that I knew that I had to get was in people and understanding, what motivates people. How do people think? And a lot of that was for myself and understanding who I am. Am I defensive when people would come to me and give me recommendations on the company? Am I open? Am I closed-minded? All these different things that just helped my culture because if you're going to run a huge service company or any type of company, you're going to have people involved and you're only as good as your people, period. Like, I don't care how hard you work. If you don't have the right people or good people around you that are bought in on the same vision that you are, you're not going to go anywhere.
So you mentioned that you're not the technician of the businesses that you own. How do you pick up new technicians uh, starting out the company brand new? Like Actually, before we go into that, how do you start these other companies when you're not experienced in that particular trade?
Yeah, so for us, it was crucial to have someone. We didn't want to be the jack of all trades. Our name was on the line with Green Mango. If we were going to open up another company, we wanted to make sure that we could perform the same level of treatment that they came to expect out of Green Mango. So we actually didn't introduce our companies into the Green Mango, what we call the family or our database, until they were like 2 to 3 years old, until they had some traction. We got all the
Got the
kinks
plug.
worked out and all
Yeah.
that stuff. But as far as starting it, because we didn't want to be the jack of all trades, I would go find someone that had experience in that field for, whether it was a year or a couple of years, it didn't matter, but they knew that, hey, I understand how to clean carpet. And, and you need to have someone that's boots on the ground, because you need someone working those 18-hour days at the beginning to, wear all the hats until you can afford to hire out. So that's what we did. In each company that we started, we would find someone that had experience, give them equity in the company, and it would be their Green Mango for them. It was their everything. We put them on a small salary to help them survive and, take care of their basic needs. And then it was like, hey, let's go grow this together. And 5-6 years down the road, if we do all these things correctly, like, you can become a millionaire, and that's what it is. So that's how we did it.
That's really cool. And now, whenever you're hiring people for these companies, you're hiring new technicians, and I'm thinking mainly outfield staff. Is that person that's boots on the ground? Is that the person that is having that conversation, or do you find that you're having the conversation and building relationships with those individuals as well? And if so, like, do they have buy-in, since you're not, quote unquote, the technician or the technical mindset person?
Yeah, so the only shared resources that we have together as a company is our HR and our accounting side. But everywhere else, they have their own office managers, they have their own, branch managers or field managers, and so on. And even, we incubate them in our Green Mango office, but within the first year, they're moving into their own office as well. But yeah, that's been the most difficult part for me, is because once you kind of open that door with friendship, you got to keep that up. And so
Yeah,
I always have to kind
exactly.
of keep people at arm's length. And I hate that, because there's nothing more I'd like to do than go to lunch with every single person. But we have over 250 employees now. I just can't develop that. So what I did, I took a page out of Tommy's book, and every single month I have all my anniversaries and all my birthdays that are that month. And I just record a little video I used to send a text message, and that was okay. Like, I'd get responses here or there, but Tommy was like, hey, the personalized videos have been a game changer for me. So I started allocating time every single month, and it takes a couple hours, but hey, it's great. People love these videos. It's a short 10-15 second video. Hey, it's Cameron, just wanted to wish you a happy birthday. Hope you're having a great day. Want to make sure I'm thinking of you. And it's been awesome. So that's the only kind of connection that I get.
Yeah.
But the buy-in is with my managing partner, and that's on purpose. Like, they need to have that relationship with them, and he has their respect, because he was like me at that company. His time on the van, if we're looking at our carpet cleaning company, like, I spent 6 years on the van, he spent a year on the van. But that's the benefit of having a coach. By having a mentor, is he can help you, achieve different
Yeah.
levels of success a lot faster. And that's one of the pitches that we're making to these guys, is like, hey, partner with us. We'll cut your time in half. If it takes
All right.
6 years to make money, we'll make sure it's there in 3.
Yeah. Not only that, I mean, do you want whatever percentage of, $10 million, or do you want 100% of $1
Right.
million?
Yep. Yeah.
That's the things that you can learn from other people. You don't have to make the same mistakes. Like, learn from their mistakes.
Well, that's why coaching, and that's one of the biggest mistakes that I made. Like, and it's a great thing, but it's also, it hinders who you are. And I see a lot of people out there, especially as I'm developing more of my brand and reaching out to people and telling them, like, hey, I want to talk to you. I want to help you, because it's not like I didn't have that, but I didn't look for it.
Mhm.
And so for the first 8 years, I just kind of stayed in my little bubble, and I didn't ask for help. And it was just my partner and I talking. But there's so many people out there that want to help, that have walked the path that you want to walk, and they can help you shave years off your life. I mean,
Mhm.
it's crazy. So
It is wild. Do you feel like that? Because that time period of when you weren't asking for help, the I guess the internet wasn't there. I mean, it wasn't that big of a thing like it is now, where like you can get on Facebook right now and join a group, and
Right.
you can ask for help or see somebody giving advice like instantly. That wasn't readily available for any of us at that at
Right.
that point. Do you think that that's the reason why you held off waiting so long, or do you think you
I
was
think I was just stubborn, bro. Like, hey,
okay?
I
Yeah,
know everything. I know what to do. And when you're working those many hours, this is the other mistake that people make is that like they don't stop and like try and get a bigger picture. So, I mean, I didn't even have time to think about like, oh, I wonder if someone could help me. Like it was just, hey, I got to go run a route. Okay, I got to run the
mhm.
sales training. Oh, I got to do billing. I got to do routing. I got to do, it's like you're just running from thing to thing.
You're working in the business and not on the business.
Yeah. Yep.
And so, yeah, that's huge. That's massive. Now, whenever you're starting up the businesses, are you? I guess the best way. Also, the best way to ask this: are you treating each business individually as far as trying to get the bootstrapping, the financing, and stuff up, or are you using Hype Farm Premium Home Services, the umbrella company, as like a bankroll to get it started out?
Yeah. So we started Green Mango. My dad was actually an investor in Green Mango in 2010. Started with $60,000. I think it was for like 5%. And we started a door knocking company. And because we didn't know what we were doing, we of course needed more money. So we ended up borrowing, I think it was $250,000 from my dad over 2 years. And he now owns 20% of Green Mango.
Nice.
And with the other companies, we had one investor that saw what we were doing and wanted to come in on all the companies and start them all. So we were lucky enough to have one investor fund all the other companies that we started. But
Would you do that again?
no,
No.
yeah,
No.
which is what put me in like we talked about, like my hard spot in 2018 when all these companies were a year to 2 years old. Very much so in the heavily growth stages.
Oh,
We're
right.
staffing for growth. We're not taking any money out, and then he just pulled out, and it caused me to say, hey, okay, this company is taking the most time and it's taking the most money. Let's sell it off. And luckily, especially with home services, I don't know, what most of your listeners are, if they're home services or what they are,
Yeah,
but
they are.
that's the beautiful thing is that there's always a buyer in the home service market. So as long as you're acquiring your accounts at a decent level, even when you have to get out in an emergency, like it was for me, where I had, these 6 companies, it's like, I don't have enough time,
Mhm.
and definitely don't have the bankroll to fund them all. They will, they'll sell in a heartbeat. So I think by the time I wanted to sell our pool company, we had it gone within 3 months and almost paid back the entire investment, which was huge. Same with the alarms. It just, there's always a buyer.
That's cool. Now, whenever you reached out to this investor, like how did that conversation go? Because I was very like what you're saying is it describes me to the T, multiple years back as far as being stubborn and I can do this all myself. I don't need to ask for help. I mean, I wouldn't even go to the bank and ask for help. I'd just be like muscle through it, and we're gonna bootstrap this thing for real, for
Yeah.
real. How did you go and know who to ask? I mean, it sounds like your dad probably had some experience and knowledge in that aspect.
He didn't. I mean,
Oh no.
I wish he did. My dad's an amazing person. He taught me so many different things, but that's been probably the most difficult part. My dad has been very successful in business, but he didn't have any employees. He just sold land. So, I mean, it was him and his business partner and a secretary, and that was it.
Yeah.
And that's what I was supposed to do. Like I went and got all my aviation licenses in high school because when I returned from my church mission, I was supposed to do real estate. But when I got back in 2009, it was just a horrible economy. It was a great economy if you had money, but it was a horrible economy if you were, looking to get into it.
Yeah.
But and that's when I got recruited into pest control. But he definitely had connections, and he was the one that connected me to this investor. And because of I would assume because of my track record with Green Mango and what I was doing, he saw that, hey, if this kid can stay focused and work hard, then I love to invest in these other brands that he's wanting to launch.
Would you reach out to investors now, or would you have entertain conversations with investors at this point as far as doing more businesses? I mean, and I guess, would you do more businesses? Would you open up another pool?
No, I'm done opening up companies. I have the core 3 now, and I'm just maximizing all my energy and efforts, taking all the experiences and lessons that I've learned with all the other ones and just putting them all in, which is why I said, some people come to me and they're like, hey, I own a solar company. Should I start a roofing company? And I'm like, well,
Are you
I
killing it
probably
with the
would.
solar?
If you're killing it at solar, like just stay in solar, because however easy you think it is, like you're gonna cause some headaches. But like I said, it was the best thing I could have done for my education, but worst thing I did for my financial, stability. Truly, because it's just,
You mentioned something earlier, and it's a very good point. We're in these Facebook groups and everywhere, social media wise, and you see companies that are they're doing one trade and they introduce another trade and they introduce another trade, and I mean, we did it ourselves. We rebranded and we're HVAC only, and then I got a plumbing license and we brought in plumbing, but we were killing it in HVAC. Like, we're killing it. And like customer service, like we knew how to engage with the clients. We knew the lingo, you knew what they were asking, how to answer the question. And then we threw plumbing in the mix. And then all of a sudden it's like, why aren't we getting the same results? Like, we don't have the same experience. And we
did you
didn't
keep all
nail
the
it.
same CSRs and stuff? Like, were they answering both calls? Yeah.
And that's the thing. And so you're exactly right. I mean, you brought on another thing, and you gotta make sure you're really nailing it down. And I like that you brought on somebody that was experienced in that trade. That helps. I mean, that helps out a lot, because I'm learning on the customer. But you also said that you waited 2 years before you brought them into the fold of
Yeah.
introducing them to your other customers, because we didn't have the kinks worked out of it, and we were just basically learning or fixing things on customers who had relied on us and loved us,
Dang.
just on the HVAC. I know, yeah, ruined stuff.
I can only imagine.
I mean, and we had frank conversations with customers, and like, realized the mistakes that we were making and fixed them, and thanked the customer a lot, and gave deep discounts for that learning.
Yeah.
Allowed us to learn on them. But yeah, what you said there is very, very true.
Yeah. Yeah. Luckily for us, we didn't, we would separate, like I said, the only shared resources that we had was HR and our accountants. But, yeah, it gets difficult because your time's just split. Like, I think if I had half the amount of time that I put into all these other companies into Green Mango, like what it would be today. But like I said, I hate going back, like, and playing the what if game.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's all good, man.
That's really cool. And it's funny because our actual company, we're black and orange on the service center, and our vans are satin black with satin orange. Nice. So I love the everything you have going on. And what's the future hold for you? What's the future hold for Cameron?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm just focusing on these 3 companies. I spend 90% of my time on Green Mango. I want to double it in the next 5 years and have an exit, whether that's a full exit or partial. I don't know yet, but it's just my goal that I'm pushing towards, and not because like that, oh, then I'll be happy, but because I feel like that's obtainable. Like that's a stretch for me, just like I do it every single year. Like, okay, what's obtainable? We feel like we could coast for the next 5 years and hit 40 million. So I'm like, okay, let's shoot for 50. And that's where I'm at. So I get really excited about that. Coconut, we're going to keep killing it in Arizona, but we launched our franchising model last year. We sold 4 franchises. Coconut's our carpet cleaning business.
Gotcha.
So, we launched 4 last year. We have another 4 in the pipeline right now. There's a lot of
that's a lot of work creating the franchise model is a ton of work.
It took over a year to get our FDD fully, our paperwork fully done. And then we just had to go through an audit, which I guess, once again, we're learning, but our accountants are like, hey, you can't sell another franchise until you go through this year audit. And we're like, what the heck is this? There's another couple, 10, 20 grand or whatever it was. And now we have 4 in the hopper right now. And I'm just going crazy because it's not finished yet. And, we got 4 buyers like ready to go pay us money for these franchises. But I don't know, we're just having fun. Carpet's doing great. We're setting records for, our average ticket volume. Our culture's absolutely phenomenal. We just have great people around us. Like it's a lot of fun right now, man.
And now having that culture and that camaraderie and the what you're known at, like Coconut is this, and then you sell a franchise, like that's got to be terrifying that now somebody else has control over the way people perceive me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, like even someone was messaging me the other day, like, hey, your SEO is trash. And I won't say the state that Coconut's in. I'm like, hey, like I can't do anything about that. It's a franchisee, like how much they spend on SEO or not. Like we give them recommendations. So there is that worry, but we were kind of forced into franchising. That's what's funny about it. And that's what's great about it is that we had 4 of our top guys that were like, hey, we love this business. We love everything about it, but we don't want to be an employee forever. So like we either want you guys to franchise this or we're going to go start our own company. And we're like, dang, well, let's look into this. And a year later, we sold those 4 franchises to them. And the ones that are following our model, which has been really fun to see, like the ones that followed exactly what we had to say, not that we're perfect, but once again, like it's the whole mentor thing that we can help shave off a ton of time. He did over $100,000 in his, in his first month, or like it was 6 months in, he did $100,000 in business. Like we didn't even do that at Coconut. It's absolutely phenomenal.
Huh. That's cool. What about I'm sure you played out all kinds of options. What about like like another business with a minor equity with that person at a different location versus the franchise? Because the franchise is a lot of extra work. I mean, that's mind blowing that you went through that whole process of franchising.
So in 2018, when our investor dipped out, he basically all the financial responsibility moving forward was on us. And it was a lot, man. Like when you have, I don't know how many trucks we had, probably over 160 trucks. Just all the liability that you have, like it's just financially draining. Like it almost it put me in a bad place for a long time. I'll say that. And so I just didn't want to go through that again. When you have partners and there's a capital call, like you're the one that's ponying up, and with the franchises, like that's on them, man. Like we sell them our package up front. We make sure that we're providing our stuff, but if he has a truck payment come due and he can't afford it, like he's calling his mom or dad, he's not calling Cam. So that's probably the main reason. If I had all the money in the world, I would do what I've done with the companies here. And that's just an equity model because I'm confident in who I am, but there's a certain, stage in life where it's like, okay, the extra little equity isn't worth the capital calls and the stress that comes with running this many people. And that's the biggest thing.
So you're buddies with Tommy Mello, like I am, that we had talked a little bit before show or whatever. He talks about equity, he's got an equity model in his business. Do you do something similar to that, or have you thought about doing something similar to that as far as
the equity incentive plan for employees? Yeah, I'm trying to do it because Tommy's inspired me. It's really hard for me, man. Like I've spent 6 months on this project with my CFO trying to, especially with our 5-year plan. Okay, who are my key players that could have part of this? What do they need to hit? Data's frustrating, man. It seems like data can be skewed in so many different ways, good and bad for you or the employee. So the last thing I want to do is get to the end and feel like, oh, I'm paying out this bonus when he didn't really earn it, or
that's tough.
So I'm trying to work through that. It's one of the biggest questions that I have. He's coming in on Friday. We're going to talk through it even more. So I believe in the concept. We do commission-based pay. So we're all about the incentive. But when you're talking about, a Tommy Mello, hey, when you sell out, paying a couple, 3 to 5 guys or sometimes 10 guys, multi-million dollars. Like it's a big deal. So I'm thinking about it differently when I think about my 5-year plan. But it's when people are engaged and know your data and know the end goal, it's amazing what your people can help you do. And
right. The ownership, like they take ownership in every task they perform.
Yep.
It's a great thought process and concept. It is a lot of work though, like you said, and especially if you're gonna double in revenue in 5 years, if that's your goal, and you got to think about payout at that point in time. And then what's the stipulation? Like what happens if they like all of a sudden become an equity partner and they just slack way off?
Yeah.
A lot of what ifs there for sure.
So let me ask you a question. With your HVAC company, what is your contact rate? Not your close rate, but your contact rate. So if you have 100 leads come in, what percentage are you contacting? Do you know that number?
Not right off the top of my head, no.
So I just paid out a bonus to one of my sales managers, which once again, I'm happy to do. But one of the bonus was if he had an 80% contact rate on the leads, and the data showed that he hit it. But all year I'm sitting there in our marketing meetings once a month, and I'm like, dude, this just doesn't seem right. When I was on the phones, if I had 10 leads, not 8 of them weren't freaking answering the phone. Like it just doesn't happen, But all the data from HubSpot and Call Tools and all this stuff is telling me that it's at 80%. And that's where I don't want to get to the end of 5 years and be like, I just don't trust the data. But I also don't want to be the only guy in the room like celebrating. I know that I can't get there without my people. Mm-hmm. And I want them to I want to make 10 millionaires at Green Mango. Like I do, but I just wanted to make sure that we're all looking at the right data. And that's probably been the most frustrating thing in different sizes. I don't know how much revenue you guys do a year with your companies, but it's been interesting to see the different things that you learn at each stage. So if a company's at 3 million, then 6 million, then 10 million, at 15, ever since we've hit $20 million in revenue and up, like there's things that I'm learning that I didn't even know existed as a $15 million company. It's crazy to me.
It's wild. Do you have coaches now that have experienced the 20 million, the 40 million and stuff like that? Or
no, which is why I'm wanting to team up with Tommy and why we're looking at something right now, because he's walked a path once again that I want to walk. Yeah. And there's people like that, whether you're doing $1 million, there's someone that is doing 3 million that can help you out, and I see the value. And it's dumb for me to sell equity right now in Green Mango. I know where I'm going, but I know that he can probably help me do it. And if I have a 5-year goal for 50 million, he can probably help me get there in 3 years, because of what he's done. That's the value of reaching out and talking about it. I've been a very closed person. I don't like people knowing my business, but within the past probably 5 months, I'm like, hey, I'm letting it all hang out there. I'm going to tell everyone what I'm doing. And it's crazy the amount of help that I've gotten and people that want to help out and be a part of the success. So I'd encourage anyone, if you're like me, that's just like stayed in the bubble and not done anything and not reached out for help, like don't do that. I've only been doing it for 5 months and I've seen the reward already, which is insane. Yeah.
And now here you are on the podcast sharing it to the world.
There you go.
Cam, I appreciate you hanging out with me and answering all the questions. I mean, I naturally am going to have tons of, I'm just an inquisitive person, and I love the fact that you're willing to share your experience and things you would do and wouldn't do again. Would you tell everybody where to connect with you?
Yeah. So the biggest thing is just Instagram. So it's Bawden, Bawden. And like I said, I want to help you out. I want to connect, and like everyone has something to give.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I really do appreciate you hanging out with me. If anybody has any questions for me or Josh, servicebusinessmastery.com, visit there. Our little bubble at the bottom of the website is you can click it and record a audio message, and it comes to Josh and I, and then we'll respond to that. But with that being said, I hope y'all have a wonderful and safe week until we talk again next time. Thank you again, Cam, for hanging out with us.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Yeah, buddy. See you.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Service Business Mastery. Now that you are equipped with essential business advice from this impactful conversation, you are one step closer to becoming the successful owner of your dreams. If this episode has been helpful to your business journey, don't forget to subscribe to the show, leave a rating, and share it with other owners as well. Visit servicebusinessmastery.com